So whenever we design a data warehouse will be there in the denormalized structure, which means there will be a less number of tables which are available, and there will be a historical data. When we design a data warehouse, we'll always enable it to store the historical data here, and the data will be available in the centralized database, so we can always analyze the data quickly without spending so much of the time. Yes, we have questions here. We can have hybrid systems. It's not having a clear separation based on the business. I could have a partly OLTP system with a OLAP structure. Okay. See, altogether, if you have actually, we have a question from here from Pratima. What she asked, the question is like, it is not a clear separation based on the business. I could have partly OLTP system with the OLAP structure. See, altogether, if you're actually again designing different OLAP tables just for an analysis, it's more like when you have a huge data, altogether you have to define again different OLAP tables to store the similar type of data in the same system. But maybe same system may not handle so much amount of data. That is one disadvantage. And it is again a tedious activity whenever you design an OLTP system. Again, you have to define a separate OLAP tables which will store the structure of data. That is also one more disadvantage. It's more like when you're actually designing different tables in the OLTP system, at the same time if you're defining the OLAP system tables also, then it is more like building a data warehouse in your OLTP system itself, which is not a right approach to implement. And we have a question here from Uday, and legacy system still using the OLTP system for reporting purpose, not taking the advantage of data warehouse. So when you're talking about the legacy systems like mainframes, let's say Oracle ERP and all, OLTP, whatever the reporting that they are doing, it is not a complex analysis that they are doing. If you have to find out the historical analysis which has to be done in your legacy systems, obviously your legacy systems do not have a data which is present in those legacy systems like mainframes and Oracle ERP. So it is a limited reporting which is being done on the legacy system. Even if you talk about the CBEL and CBEL analytics which was there, it was limited reporting which they are doing. It is not that complete reporting solution. That is just simple reports. If you want to generate, always your legacy systems will have a data and then you can generate out of it. But it is not a complete solution. So your data warehouse is a complete solution for all your questions. Whatever the business analysis that you want to do, you can have any type of data, whatever OLTP data can be replicated into your data warehouse, and you can still do the analysis, either it is a historical analysis or a complex analysis or any type of analysis you can carry out, but not like your legacy simple reporting solution. See, when you have a simple reporting requirement, there is no need of building a data warehouse altogether. All you can do is you can use your OLTP system itself as a warehouse and then do the generating of reports. That is what is happening when you talk about Oracle reports, 6i, Oracle reports, Discoverer, and you have some other type of Crystal reports and all. If I am correct, and that is being derived based upon the OLTP systems itself. So these are the simple reporting solution, but we are not looking at the simple reporting solutions here, and we are looking at a longer perspective where your data warehouse can do the analysis and can give you a strategic advantage by building a data warehouse, which eventually improves your business. That is where we are looking at it. Okay. So that's how more differences between your OLTP systems and the OLAP systems. I'm not going in much details about now the standard definitions and the architecture of the data warehouse, because I have to show you how the Informatica works, and this is more or less about the your data warehousing. So in order to integrate the data from OLTP systems into this, we are going to use Informatica Power Center. Informatica Power Center latest version, that is your 951, is a latest version which we have, and we are going to discuss the Informatica Power Center 951 here in our this thing. So to just clear your questions about how the Informatica Power Center will be and whether there will be a coding or something, no, absolutely not. and if you're comfortable with SQL, you're actually going to define different programs just like this, and where you're not going to do the much of the coding. You will be more than a keyboard. You will be using your mouse most of the time in designing the programs and everything. So I'm just showing you, this is one of the Informatica Power Center tool, which you call it as a designer. And this designer tool will help you to design the programs, and this is how it looks like. So if you define a program, unlike the other ETL tool like Ab Initio and all, you don't need to write much of the code. All you have to do is that you need to understand the different properties, how to design the programs in this. So let me just show you a simple program. Okay, we'll answer the question. Here we have few questions. I'll answer one by one. So eventually, when you look at the simple mapping here, that is your M_ODS employee. Let's say this is a simple program is being designed in Informatica, wherein to read the data from employee table which was in Oracle system, and then you're loading the data into ODS_employee. So what we are doing is basically we are reading the data from it, we are concatenating and we are transforming the data according to our requirement by applying the different concatenation functions and everything, and loading the data into target. So this is a simple program which you have, which moves the data from employee table to the ODS_employee. Similarly, when we go to Informatica also, you need to create the different programs to integrate the data from your OLTP systems into the warehouse by reading the data from different tables, by reading the data from different flat files like a text files and the XML files if required, and all those things. All those things which will be available, and we will be integrating the data from all the different sources into this. And this is one of the designer tool what we have, and another tool which we have is a workflow manager. So workflow manager which helps you to schedule the programs, execute the programs, and run the programs. And there is another tool called as a workflow monitor, which helps you to check whether your program is successfully completed, whether it is being errored out, how many rows have been extracted from your OLTP tables, how many are loaded into target tables. All those things can be verified from the workflow monitor. So more like in Informatica, you're not going to write much of the code, but you all have to understand the different properties and how you have to create the programs, all those things. So that is the overall introduction about this. And I have a few questions from here. Let me just try and answer one of them. So we have a question from Chandra, and as discussed, the OLAP system is used to store the heterogeneous and homogeneous data as in the central repository. Eventually, data will be increased and IO time and the report generation tools will be increased, right? So how come we are overcoming this scenario? So there are multiple tools and multiple approaches to define this. In order to reduce your IO time and everything, we will actually use the caches and everything. And when you are integrating the data into your data warehouse, it's all that you have different tools like MOLAP tools, ROLAP tools, and everything. MOLAP tools eventually again will integrate the data into cubes, and it will do that. So there are various methods to implement to reduce the IO calls between your database and the reporting tools, and that will be more discussed in the reporting perspective. So when we talk about the heavy data handling and everything, so most of the time when the reports are being generated against your warehouse, either they will be considering the analysis about the latest data, and very few scenarios they'll actually dig in more about the historical data and everything. So in that scenario, most of the time when the data is increasing, predominantly when you are started building a data warehouse, what happens is that instead of keeping the data for complete years, we will actually keep the data for either for 3 years or max 5 years, so that I'll have in my data warehouse only the 5 years of data for analysis, and remaining all the other years data, it will be purged. And if the data is very huge and all, there are different architectures which you can build in the data warehouse, wherein you can distribute the different subject areas data among the different data marts. So we'll understand what is a data mart. that time the IO calls between in a single database will be reduced. What I'm trying to say, you have one centralized database. If you have a heavy data, and we will actually divide the data into different subject areas. For a sales department data, I'll store it into one database. For marketing department data, I'll store into another database. That is nothing but a data mart, we call it. But this is little advanced architecture which we have to understand. In that case, IO calls on my centralized data store will be reduced. That is one solution which we have. Yes, about the software, yes, we will be sharing the software with you, and we will also help you to install the software, and we will also provide the server access and all those things. Yes, when we go to the complete data warehousing architecture, we will understand how staging layer will be built and all those things. Yes, when we talk about we have a question here, like we are hearing about the cloud storage. Will the ETL process still be the same? See, when we talk about the cloud, Informatica cloud version is also available. So just to clear your question on the what do you mean by cloud? Cloud is nothing but your software will be maintained in some place, and you will be accessing that from your system without using any client tool. That is called as basically a cloud. So Informatica supports the cloud, but when you are buying a license, Informatica, they'll give you a cloud license, and all you have to do is you don't need to install Informatica on any of your servers or clients. Anything is not required. You can access that Informatica through the browser. That is, Informatica supports a cloud option, but yeah, Informatica supports the cloud. From 9.5 onwards, they've actually introduced. So we are not going to go in detail about the data mining process as well. I mean, we are not going to touch much of it. We'll just understand what is the data mining is all about. And Informatica do not have any space limitation as such. All you need to have around 50 GB of hard disk space for installation, and above 4 GB RAM is good, and i3 processor will be a good option to set up the VM and everything. So that will be a faster to work with. You can do that. What are the different sources of extraction from the FLAC files and databases? See, your Informatica even can integrate the data from legacy systems like mainframes and SAP and PeopleSoft, all these things, by a plugin called as a Power Exchange. You can directly read it. And your Informatica can also read the data from web services. It can also integrate the data from social media sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and all these data. And you can also integrate the data from images, and you can also integrate the data from Hadoop from 9.5.1 onwards. If you have a Hadoop system and you want to integrate the Hadoop data into your data warehouse, 9.5.1 is compatible even in integrating the data from Hadoop. It supports multiple source systems, not only one. But everything includes a license. I mean, you need a license to process it. If you have to work with legacy systems or social media sites or web services, for all those things you need a license, separate license. Informatica will sell it. You can buy that license and integrate the data for any type of sources.
Yeah, I told you that before now. So now in Informatica, generally we don't have coding, and you have programming, right? And
yes.
What about in reporting tools like Cognos? And you said reporting tools comes under Cognos, BO, MicroStrategy, SSRS, OBIE. So
yeah, there also you don't do much of the coding, but you have to understand the metadata development. In that metadata development also you don't do much of the coding. All you need to do is to define a joins between your fact tables and the dimension tables, so that it can query the data from your data warehouse. There also you don't use much of the coding. It's all that the UI.
You don't, yeah. In reporting tools, we don't use much. We don't use much coding. And what about programming?
There will be no programs as such. It's completely handled by your reporting tools itself. So if you define one report, and it will be handled by that.
Oh, acha. Okay. Yeah, but you're saying that in ETL tool, I mean in Informatica, we should do your programming and right. So, but in reporting tools, whereas in reporting tools, no need of coding and programming. No? Is that right?
No, in both the cases, you don't write any programs. So do not compare your ETL tools and reporting tools exactly like Java. It's not a programming tools. So background itself, all the programming. In the front end, you are not going to write any program like your Java. You don't do anything as such. All you do is UI, you'll operate it, and the background, your tools are intelligent enough to handle your operations according to your UI objects.
Okay. And what do you mean by ODI? I mean
Oracle Data Integrator. Oracle Data Integrator. This is another ETL tool from Oracle Corporation.
Okay. And SSIS?
SSIS is SQL Server Integration Service. This is from Microsoft.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Karthik.